YouTubers, and welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. I have 4 articles in this episode for you this morning. The URLs are listed in the description of this video for your convenience. Audio, and then we'll get right into them. There it goes. Alrighty, the first article that I have for you this morning, it's off a Zero Hedge, and it says North Dakota governor signs executive order evicting pipeline protesters. Year since the first protest camp sprung up in opposition to the Dakota Access Pipeline, Governor of North Dakota, Doug Burgum, has finally had enough and has signed an executive order demanding that protesters evacuate by February the 22nd. To scroll on up here a little bit. Doug puts out a tweet here. It says Governor Burgum has issued an executive order reinforcing Obama's USACS's February 22nd deadline for evacuating the main protest camp. Scroll past the ads. Ironically, environmental damage caused by the protesters, including months of accumulated debris and human waste generated by the populations that have occupied the aforementioned area, and the resulting risk posed to the waters of the Missouri River, was cited by the governor as the primary reason for the evacuation notice per the executive order. Large populations have ignored the November 28, 2016 evacuation order detailed in Governor's 2016-08 and the separate eviction order issued by the States Army Corps of Engineers on November the 25th of 2016. These populations continue to unlawfully occupy and reside in flood-prone areas, whereas months of accumulated debris, including human waste generated by the populations that have occupied the aforementioned area of Morton and Sioux counties, an increasing environment threat to the waters of the Missouri River if cleanup and removal efforts are not quickly accelerated and completed before flooding begins. Of the accumulated waste, abandoned vehicles, and unlawful temporary and permanent dwelling structures in this flood-prone area has created significant health and safety risk, as well as environmental hazards, imminent flooding. And residing in the eviction area are ordered to leave the area no later than 2 p.m. February the 22nd of 2017. A link where you can read the full executive order if you'd like to pull that up in this article. And that's what that one has to say. Next article here of rickwells.us, and it says Shepard Smith, that is tongue-in-cheek, Shepard Smith once again goes berserk defending Acosta from Trump. Why, Shep? Smith, people are going to think you've got one of those schoolgirl crushes on CNN's Jim Acosta. The way you jump to his defense every time he gets crossways with President Trump like you once did, or try this again, like you did once again on Thursday. Knights shining in armor have their place. Knights in shining bullet bras, not so much. Sure, Smith can claim that he's just reacting to the event as he would with anyone, but Trump has a lot of, Trump has had a lot of less than amicable exchanges with propagandists and their networks. To only have eyes and feelings for Acosta. In the beginning of his rant after endorsing Acosta and making it clear that they never met, Smith says, "It's crazy that we're watching every day. It's absolutely crazy. For those program on a daily basis, that's true." Sounding quite frustrated, Smith says he keeps repeating ridiculous throwaway lines that are not true at all and sort of avoiding this issue of Russia. President's presidents explained the Russian thing, which is total fabrication by Democrats like Smith already. If his head is too thick for the information to pass, that's his problem. Smith accuses himself of being a fool for asking the question. One of the few times he may have actually stumbled onto the truth, it's more likely he's going for the dramatic effect. His turn at the fake news desk saying, really, your opposition was hacked. The Russians were responsible for it, and your people were on the phone with Russia. It was happening, and we're fools for asking the question. No, sheepherd, you're a fool for a lot of different reasons. It has to be remembered that it was now exposed as biased and potentially criminal leadership at the CIA and the ODNI that were responsible for making that assessment. They're the same ones who are leaking secret information about President Trump's phone conversations and who set up General Flynn. They are Obama loyalists who have provided no proof of their claims and who have clearly engaged in abuse to assist the Democrat Party against the President of the United States. Traitor is another way to put it. According to rants of the precious press, been determined that all of the hacks of the DNC, John Podesta, etc., which were really leaks, occurred the same day. That's something we'd like to look into. We'd like to verify that Trump's people were on the phone to Russia on that day. If you're talking about General Flynn, that took place after the election, after all the WikiLeaks document dumps had taken place. Why is it Shepherd entitled, or why is Shepherd entitled, as he seems to think he is, to know what President Trump's people were saying while on the phone with her? There's a lot of things that could be involved in a conversation, and if he intended to say Russia instead of her, or if the female in question is a Russian official, then it's probably not something that any president is going to be babbling all over the world's airwaves. Reporters into a spitting hissy fit, then so be it. He says we have a right to know, which may not be the case, and then stomps his foot and says that you call us fake news and put us down like children for asking these questions on behalf of the American people is inconsequential. These people deserve an answer at the very least. Don't forget to pick up your toys before you go home, Shep. Shepherd really needs to get the fake news front. Maybe his fellow homosexuals and leftist dictator David Brock, who invented the fake news narrative as a means of targeting the despicable rednecks that have taken over Shepherd's liberal utopia, can fill him in on just who is assaulting whom. Care to know which, since it doesn't fit his Democrat Marxist ideological leanings, is probably unlikely. Get to the real issue of what's got you upset, Shepherd. Give Jim Acosta a call, ask him out for a drink, maybe an invitation to share a hot tub. If he's not interested, you'll know you gave it your best shot. Clearly you're tormenting yourself and lashing out as a result. It'll be okay, whatever his answer is. There's a lot of guys in New York City who are looking for a girl like you. Oh, I can't make this stuff up. The next one here is off of Zero Hedge, and it says a civil war for control of U.S. government has erupted between the deep state and Donald Trump. And if we can get this to scroll up a little bit. Poor little hamster. There we go. Slowly but surely. Little fella. Only has 3 legs and 1 eye. Half a brain cell. His hair all fell out. His wheel squeaks. I hate to have to replace him. I've become attached to him at this point. Come on, fella. Goodness gracious. On. Well, okay, we'll try to reload him. Good belt of whiskey, probably. I don't know. That might push him over the edge. So looking a little bit better here. Well, it was. Let's see if it'll scroll up. Well, the ruthless political assassination of Michael Flynn was just one battle of a major civil war that has erupted for the control of the U.S. government. Administration are now under relentless assault by the deep state, and at this point, it is not clear who will emerge the victor. There are many that use the term deep state as a synonym for the intelligence community, but the truth is that it's much broader than that. And there's an ad trying to play here, and we got to get past that. In reality, the deep state encompasses thousands upon thousands of unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats that never seem to change no matter which party wins the election. Certainly, the intelligence community is at the heart of this system, but there are countless others that are embedded within the key government agencies and the Pentagon that deeply resent Donald Trump and the kind of change to Washington. There is a vast and exceedingly complex tapestry of laws, rules, and regulations that govern the behavior of the government officials. In past administrations, those laws, rules, and regulations have been very selectively enforced, but now the deep state intends to use them as weapons against the Trump administration. And we're waiting for the hamster. Come on. There we go. In essence, Donald Trump and his team are walking through a minefield, and his enemies are watching like a hawk for even the smallest slip up. And everyone working for the federal government is now working for Donald Trump. But in reality, that is not the case. I wrote about the sabotage that's being done by Obama loyalists a few days ago, going to stop until Donald Trump does a complete house cleaning. Michael Flynn was taken out because he was an easy target, but now that he's gone, the saboteurs are immediately going to proceed to their next targets. For example, just today, we learned that Trump's choice, Andrew Puds, Andrew Pudster, draw. Trump's political enemies are going to go after him. Trump's family, friends, and business associates are all fair game. Politics in America has become an exceedingly dirty game, and many believe that this is an indication that our republic is in the process of failing. I really like how Damian Linker described this in an article for Newsweek, and it says, the whole episode is evidence of the precipitous and ongoing collapse of America's democratic institutions, not a sign of their resiliency. Was a soft coup or political assassin engineered by anonymous intelligence community bureaucrats. The results might be salutary, but this isn't the way a liberal democracy is supposed to function. Unelected intelligence analysts work for the president, not the other way around. Far too many Trump critics appear not to care that these intelligent agents leaked highly sensitive information to the press, mostly because Trump critics are pleased with the results. Finally, they say, someone took a stand to expose collusion between the Russians and a senior aide to the president. It is indeed important that someone took such a stand, but it matters greatly who one is and how they take their stand. Members of the unelected, unaccountable intelligence community are not the right someone, especially when they target a senior aide to the president by leaking anonymously to newspapers the content of classified phone intercepts uh, where the unverified, unsubstantiated information can inflict politically fatal damage almost instantaneously. About how the U.S. government has been transformed into a police state, and ultimately it is not the politicians that have been spying on all of us, it's the deep state. According to USA Today, the deep state has been intercepting communications from Trump and his team for months, and investigation was actually going on all the way back during the election. And now the deep state is disclosing the dirt that they have collected in order to destroy political reputations. As Bloomberg has pointed out, what the police states do. And it says formally intercepts of U.S. officials and citizens are some of the most tightly held government secrets. Selectively disclosing details of private conversations monitored by the FBI or NSA gives the permanent state the power to destroy reputations from the cloak of anonymity. This is what police states do. This entire episode makes me deeply ashamed of my country. In the end, it doesn't even matter that much if Michael Flynn would have done a good job in his position or not. What matters is that we have an intelligence community that has gone rogue and that is completely out of control. And now that this civil war has begun, it's being reported that there are some within the intelligence community that are absolutely determined to destroy Donald Trump. In fact, one former NSA analyst says that he got the message from a friend still inside the intelligence community that stated that Trump will die in jail. In an earlier episode a little while ago. Once the civil war is over, according to former NSA analysis, elements of the intelligence community have gone nuclear against President Donald Trump and are now vowing he will die in jail. Schindler, a former professor at the Naval War College, is known to be tweets, but what he revealed earlier today is still raising eyebrows. Schindler was asked why, or by another Twitter user, what do you think is going on inside NatSec, SEC, NatSec, right now after Trump's intelligence tweet this morning? To Trump's tweeting that information was being illegally leaked by members of the CIA and NSA to the Washington Post and the New York Times. Now we go nuclear. I see war going to new levels. And email from senior IC friend, it began, he will die in jail. I'm describing this conflict as a civil war. To me, this is definitely treason. Schindler tweets, now we go nuclear. I see war going to new levels. Just got an EM from senior IC friend, it began, he will die in jail. The article says, for now, civil war is a cold war, but we aren't too far away from it potentially becoming a hot war. Written about how the U.S. is on the verge of major civil unrest, and it is also a major theme in my novel. The anger and frustration that have been building up in this country for a very long time could explode at any moment. It is some sort of trigger event, and there are many that very much agree with me. For example, I just today saw an article by Charlie Daniels in which he warned that we could soon see blood in the streets. I see young people interviewed on television who can't even articulate the reason they are protesting. Others bent on destruction who probably espouse no cause but chaos. Hysterical protesters screaming about First Amendment rights, which they seem to think only protect them and those who think like them. Position has no First Amendment protection and should be shouted down at all costs. The rhetoric is becoming hotter and more nonsensical. The radical apparent, the violence and destruction of property more commonplace. The pot, and it's only a matter of time before there will be blood on the streets. If I was Trump, I would make a major house cleaning of every government agency and Pentagon my top priority, because if he allows thousands of saboteurs to remain embedded in key positions within the government, his administration will fail. So let us hope that we see the biggest wave of firings and resignations in modern American history in the weeks and months ahead, because it's going to be necessary for Donald Trump to win this struggle for the control of the government. And I agree with that. Here is off of the Daily Galaxy. Of Earth's magnetic field revealed in ancient Judean jars fluctuated violently in past without ending life on our planet. The behavior of Earth's magnetic field, the planet's deep interior, but extends far out into space and has existed for more than 3.5 billion years, but fluctuates daily, is one of the most enigmatic topics in physics. Be found by detecting its intangible and most invisible behavior in the past. In geology and archaeological, Dr. Erez Ben Yosef of Tel Aviv University. Since 1990, the magnetic North Pole has migrated almost 900 miles from Berg Island in the high Canadian Arctic to a site close to the true North Pole. At the same time, the overall intensity of the field has been falling at a rate of about 6% each century. It is about to lose its magnetic shield altogether, which might in turn spell an end of life on Earth. Now, using clearly dated Judeite clay jars, everyday vessels for wine or olive oil, archaeologists and geophysicists show the magnetic field has fluctuated violently before without ending life on the planet. The makers of these ancient jars, carefully stamping handles with the royal brand, had no idea that they were contributing to a century debate about the very heart of the planet. Our planet's history includes geomagnetic reversals that occur a few times every million years on average. However, reversals is very irregular and can range up to tens of millions of years. There can also be temporary and incomplete reversals, known as events in which the magnetic poles move away from the geographic poles, perhaps even crossing the equator before returning back to their original locations. Theorists have tried to take this natural geological occurrence and suggest it could lead to Earth's destruction, but would there be any dramatic effects? NASA's answer, from recent geological and fossil records from hundreds of past magnetic polarity reversals, seems to be no. But the magnetic North Pole is moving faster now. Actually, as scientists estimate, the pole is migrating northward about 40 miles per year, as opposed to about 10 miles per year in the 20th century. Team led by Ben Yosef concludes that there was a massive geomagnetic spike in the late 8th century BCE. We call it the Iron Age spike, and it is the strongest field recorded in the last 100,000 years, Ben Yosef says. These new findings puts the recent decline in the field's strength into context. Apparently, this is not a unique phenomenon. The field has often weakened and recovered over the last millennia. Spike brought the magnetic field to its strongest intensity in the last 100,000 years, and maybe in history altogether, adds Ben Yosef. What could have caused such a violent spike to 2.5 times the present intensity in the magnetic field? We have no clue, only that it happened thousands of kilometers beneath our feet in the molten iron area of the planet. If we have a spike, it was probably caused by turbulence or other phenomenon deep in the earth, Ben Yosef says. Following the 8th century spike, the magnetic field weakened rapidly, losing 27% of its strength over 30 years. The 6th to the 2nd century BCE, spanning the Iron Age through the Hellenistic, I guess that's how that's pronounced, Hellenistic era in Judea. Since the magnetic sphere is clearly important to our existence, the critical It's critical to know what is causing it to constantly change in intensity and direction. For 600 years, from the late 8th to the 2nd century BCE, these ceramic jars with very distinctive handles bearing impressions of royal stamps were manufactured in and around Jerusalem. The type of stamp, according to the political situation. Understanding the story about ancient Hebrews, the king's jars, and the planet's core involves knowing that the materials that have been heated and then cooled, from igneous rocks to fired clay to burnt mud, or burned mud bricks to bronze chickens, acquire thermoremient magnetate. My tongue's getting tied. Magnetization. There we go. In other words, they become weakly magnetized in the direction and intensity of the Earth's magnetic field. The thorough, that's not right. Thermo management, magnetate. Oh gosh, these big long words are thermoremnant magnetization. There we go. Of Judite jar handle can direction and magnitude of the Earth's magnetic field in prehistory. The 67 ancient pottery handles are a record of geomagnetic intensity at that time. The Daily Galaxy via NASA, the New Yorker, and Harzet, and there's some video in this if you want to take a look at that. So that's all I have for you today. I may have a surprise for you tonight. If you're around, say around 8 o'clock, I may do a live show with a week in review. So if you're around and you like the live shows, you might want to tune in for that. If you haven't subscribed yet, you might do that. And if you hit that little subscription button, it'll give you an email alert every time I do a show. And pass this around on your social media so everybody gets to hear the news. And if you like what I'm doing, give it a thumbs up and let me know. See you later. Have a great day.